Hi, I'm Liz Cully, and welcome back to Cool, Cool, Cool. Each week, I give you a glimpse into what I think is cool and chat with a ton of people that are definitely cool. No topic is off bounds unless, I guess, it's not cool. Welcome to Cool, Cool, Cool. Emmie and I met when we both had shows at Myspace, which you are going to hear all about in this episode, so I'll save ya and I won't go into it now. Emmie was so much cooler than I was, and not only did I know it, but we had a real bitch of a producer at the time who loved to tell me how much cooler Emmie was than me. Emmie is very kind and very sweet, and I'm sure she would never say that she was cooler than me, but I'm here to tell you that is the truth. Emmie is like a real personified hug. She is kind, warm, smart, talented, and she's somebody that I just want more and more from. And I was thrilled to watch her new short film, Complicated Order, this week because it is so good and it embodies so many of her incredible qualities. You have to understand, Emmie and I are the original girls of MySpace.
Literally. OG girls of MySpace.
And they were
we were in each other's top 8.
Well, I think we were the top 8. I think we were just, by that point, we were the top 8. Emmie's slumber party. How many people have ripped off your slumber party concept? It has killed me over the years. I have to be honest.
It's so funny because I remember my web series, Slumber Party at Emmie's House, basically, there was a time where every big, it was I was doing it on YouTube, and then I did some for MySpace when we both were doing content for them. And it was funny, at the time there wasn't a big media outlet that wasn't ripping it off. It was crazy. I remember I was thinking back on that pretty recently, and I was like, oh my God. And it was really devastating at the time,
Terrible.
It's I've had in my career, it's you have your ups and your peaks and valleys when we do this kind of, very DIY for our own sort of brand and our own things. And there are so many of these peaks and valleys. And that was a valley. That was really intense and really emotional for me because I was doing it all myself. And it was the kind of thing that it was if just one of these media outlets had reached out to, it was we could have partnered or whatever, but everything happens for a reason. And honestly, I haven't done Slumber Party in a while just because I feel I don't want to say I aged out of it because honey, we are evergreen in age always.
We are evergreen. Yes.
Yes. But I just feel I don't know. I was, not to sound like an asshole, but I was definitely feeling less and less inspired by it,
Well, listen, I mean, getting nailed. So for the folks listening, Emmie had Slumber Party at Emmie's House. Liz had Getting Nailed, which I fucking sold a gazillion times and it never saw the light of day.
Mm-hmm.
Do I regret not letting Amber Rose host it and they would have just pushed me out. That's where it ended up dying on the hill. I was I would rather see this die than have Amber Rose take my fucking format. But so many people copied. And even Joseph Patel, who I do love, who won an Academy Award for Summer of Soul, and he and I are still homies, and I love him for hiring me. But I remember him messaging me when he went to the Fader, and he's like, hey, I'm just giving you a heads up that we're going to shoot these videos of this host at Fader, getting her nails done. And I was like, fuck you. Do you know what I mean? And it was really painful because you had the show on YouTube. I just was never a YouTuber. YouTubers, neither were you because you were cool. And I think I was cool adjacent. But it just wasn't, it was tough because I was watching people get all of this notoriety for really terrible content.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel I was similar to you in the sense that it was really, it was themed, it was thought out, it was really fun guests. I mean, you had the most incredible guests of all time back then. And I have questions that I'm going to ask you on. I'm curious. I even remember being jealous of you at MySpace being what the fuck? She has Charlie XCX and you had all the coolest musicians from Brooklyn. How did you meet all of the cool kids? in New
It's a great
York?
question. I mean, I think in New York, honestly, a lot of these like relationships that I formed like early on in my career came through Neon Gold Records, which was this was true like what do the kids call it these or what do they call indie sleaze. Remember the indie
What?
sleaze?
I don't even know what you're talking about. What is indie sleaze?
It was like, I think oh my God, I'm going to butcher it. So I'm like no historian or whatever, but I would say.
It's fine. We are revisionist history on Cool, Cool, Cool. Don't worry.
Well, I mean, it was like a time in New York. I want to say it was like 2008 to 2012, maybe. I'm literally like not a historian, folks. So please don't come for me. But, it was the cool indie pop time. And maybe indie sleaze is actually more like indie. But basically, Neon Gold Records was the coolest label in New York, started by my best friend from college. She was my, roommate for a few years, Lizzie Plappinger and Derek Davies. And yeah, Lizzie is still one of my closest friends.
And an amazing musician.
Exactly. She was in the band Miss Mister and also has an amazing solo project, LPX, and is also a fabulous visual artist. So you guys should check her out at LPX on Instagram. But basically, so Lizzie was like, like shipping off records from our college, like senior house.
This now all tracks because I didn't know. And I was like, what the fuck? Emmie is the coolest, has the coolest friends. I was over here like, I'm not that cool. I'm just in LA, like driving my fucking Jetta, like trying to make it work. Yeah. But so Lizzie, I didn't realize that you guys were college friends.
Yeah. And then Lizzie and I, after college, we started a party together in New York.
As one does.
A club night, as they call it in the UK, because Lizzie and Derek were sort of half based out of UK, half based out of New York, all very cool, and called Fuzz. And that was definitely more the sleaze factor of indie sleaze. We put on like punk bands in this karaoke bar in New York. And that was really fun. So a lot of artists and people would come through to that. So yeah, that's sort of like how.
And is that where you met Charlie?
That actually like is where I met Charlie. Actually, she came to Fuzz. She came to Fuzz one night, and then also like, and then it just became sort of another party in New York where where friends would come, like other friends who are in town would come through. So that's where a lot of. I didn't meet Marina and the Diamonds there, but Marina would come to the parties whenever she was in town. And so yeah, I know that's.
Yeah, just a couple of casual name drops. I forgot about good old Marina.
Yeah.
It's like, what a cool group. I mean, my real claim to fame with Charlie XCX is seeing you and Charlie at the Hollywood Soul Cycle when Ben...
Ben B. Oh my gosh.
Ben B was oh my God, yes. I miss Ben B though.
Yes, so great. So great.
Did Ben stay in LA? I know they had a baby.
I have no idea. I think I follow him on Instagram, but I love him. I'm very like off the Soul Cycle train. I don't go.
I never want to go to Soul Cycle. You know what? Here, let me tell you.
Sorry, Soul Cycle.
Well, first of all, it's fine. Ain't nobody paying up. Nobody's paying me from Soul Cycle ever. You know what I never want to do again? I never want to go to like a Barry's boot camp class again. I never want to go to Soul Cycle. I can't. The body hatred and cyclone of eating disorder and exercise disorder like that I have gone through in my 38 years. I'm really coming to like a fucking, I mean, I hate myself still, that I'm going to work on forever. But let me tell you, I don't want to fucking go to fucking Soul Cycle. I don't want to fucking go to Barry's boot camp ever. I got hurt in Barry's boot camp all the time. I don't like treadmills. I don't want to run anywhere. I don't want to do any of that.
Babe, you literally like are taking the words out of my mouth because truly like Soul Cycle, Barry's, that like little, that Hollywood, that little like,
yeah,
that little alleyway of my like absolute eating disorder, insanity, whirlwind was bouncing back and forth between those two locations.
Same.
Soul Cycle,
that's where I saw you.
Big
you and I would just like be, going back and forth. It just was too much. But yes, that's my adjacency with Charlie. Actually, I did see Charlie perform while I was at Myspace early days. I don't know if you remember this, but remember when Sonos used to do like the Sonos houses and have people come through?
Yeah.
And
Cool.
I saw Charlie and her band was just so cool. It was all women. It was just rad. Okay, so that makes sense. So you've just been cool your whole life. That's great. I'm still
really haven't
working
been
and
cool my whole
achieving.
life.
Well, actually, this is a very good segue because you just wrote and directed a short, which incredible, complicated order.
Yeah.
I think I donated at a level where my name is supposed to be in the credits. I don't know. Should be.
Actually, unfortunately, you didn't.
I didn't?
No.
Oh. I donated something for something.
You definitely did. I think maybe it was the breakup playlist or a special.
Okay, sure. I don't know. I am unclear. Don't care. Paid for it at Outfest. Gave you 5 stars. Everybody needs to do the same. We have to support indie queer artists like yourself. But let me tell you, I was saying this before we recorded. It was incredible. Also shot so beautifully. Like, who was your DP?
His name is Jack Sherman. He is, you know what? Jack and I, like, we go way back to New York. We like, we're roommates a couple of different times in New York.
I love it.
And he is truly the like only man I trust, straight man I trust. And he's a great DP, super talented. He does like a lot of big shit now, but he also used to like shoot and edit Slumber Party at Emmy's house way back when.
Well, tell Jack that he's the first. I haven't even gotten to the all-star cast yet, but Jack gets his flowers.
100%.
It was beautiful. The music, obviously, with your background was incredible. You have Secret Lives of College or the Sex Life of Help Me. I don't know. I watched the whole fucking show. Thank you. Midori Francis stars. You have, I mean, the list is insane. Angelo Pagan, who is the pizza man, who's like a fucking star. Alok.
Alok is amazing. Fun fact about Angelo, his wife, Leah Remini. You know who that is.
No, I know. Of course I know who fucking Leah Remini. I didn't even, you know what's so funny?
Your face it was just so interesting, like so like blank. It was like I was like, is she having a stroke?
No, I'm not. No. In fact, I just watched this very weird video of Leah Remini like 2 days ago. I didn't even know. I went blank because I know him, but I totally blanked that they're married. I forgot about that. I was starstruck alone for Angelo.
I know, he's amazing, and he owns a great the cafe. We talked about this, the cafe in Studio City, Vivian's Cafe. If you're in Studio City, it's like a really great like sort of amazing like breakfast spot in Studio City, and he owns it, runs it. That's where we shot his scenes.
Sick. Ooh, not only is you're getting the star power, but you're getting a location that I hope he gratis to you.
He did. He's the best. He did. He's the best. I mean, hey, when you're small budget, like indie, you gotta.
Apparently I'm not giving the right fucking donation to get my name on this shit.
You have plenty. You gave plenty.
You have got horrible friends like me. Wait, we have to back up to Alok. Speaking of, I told you this story when we had lunch, but speaking of workouts, I told you how I saw Alok in the F-45 and died. Like, what? I just rang a bell. I was so excited. Woo! I was in Hollywood on a Sunday, just coming back from the farmer's market, getting my Phil's Mojito, which is the best coffee drink of all time. Awesome. And Alok comes out and I'm like, oh my God. And I was such a nerd. All I could say, I was like, oh my God, I love you. Like, you are amazing. And they were just like clearly coming out of an F-45 workout. Not that it was bad an interaction at all, but it was like, who the fuck wants to talk to some rando like on a Sunday coming out? And anyway, it was just, I was like, that was my time and I messed it up. So next time.
Would you just say that
I literally said, I love you. I think you're amazing. And I like kind of gasped.
Yeah. They are amazing.
I don't know. I mean, also you have Welcome to the Dollhouse, Heather. I mean, first of all, can I borrow that outfit? I think I owned that pink jumpsuit.
That outfit is very you.
It is so Liz Cully, actually. I was like, oh, I'm into this. But I mean, what was the casting You know everybody. You're very cool. Too cool for school. In fact, I actually, for a moment, I was like watching the short. I'm like, God, I wish Emmie had invited me to be in this background scene at this lesbian party. And then I see Wembley and then all these other like cool East Side lesbians. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not cool enough. I don't think I would have blended. Like, what would I have worn? Like,
the thing is, like, you wouldn't have been at that party because, like, in this world, it's like the ex's party, spoiler alert, is the ex's party. And like, that's like, it was like a toxic environment. And I feel like, not that my friends are toxic, they're not, they're amazing. But like, you know, it's like, because as you say, don't you say you're like Santa Monica? What do you say? You have some like saying.
no. Oh, when I say like I look like a Brentwood mom. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So sad. Oh my God.
I
You really
think that's
listen.
cool.
Really? No, it's not.
So
I'm like not cool anymore. I think I've gone to this like weird. Yeah. It's like I'm like dinner party old lady. That's fine. I'm okay with it.
Let's have a dinner party ASAP. We have meaning to been. I mentioned to Wembley, I was like, we should do dinner with Liz.
Yeah,
So
we should.
We'll talk about it offline.
Well, I mean, let's def talk about it offline. But you know everybody. You've been casting your own content for a long time with A-list musicians, celebs, etc. But what is the process like for doing a short, like an independent short? I mean, do you partner with a casting department? Like I've never done it. So how does it work?
So yeah, I really early on, basically like in my sort of getting this all together, I feel like obviously at first I was like, oh, I'll just do it all myself. And that, because I've done everything myself forever, you know, like I was just like, of course I'll just do it myself. And then I don't know, I sort of was just like, I was getting like progressive before I'd even reached out to anyone, you know, I was like, okay, I like had my list of people who I wanted to reach out to. And I just sort of was like getting more and more overwhelmed at the idea of like starting this process of like reaching out to all of these agents and blah, blah, blah. And like, because also it's not a small cast, you know, it's like, we have like 8 main players, you know? And so I was just like, you know, and I had a really small producing team and we all were busy just doing other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, and early on, the best investment that I made in this film truly was a casting director. Like I stand by that wholeheartedly. And this casting director her name's Christy Lugo. She's a great queer casting director who just really, you know, she really took to she read the script and really, really loved it. And, you know, said that she knew that our budget was tiny and sort of, you know, she came on, you know, for not quite her rate, you know, because she believed in the project so much and really wanted to be a producer on it. So she came on as a casting director and executive producer, and she really went above and beyond. And literally, like everyone, like it's so crazy. And this is like, I know that I'm very, very lucky in this scenario because this is not the case for everyone. The casting was like weirdly the easiest part. Like
really,
the whole thing. Yeah. Everyone who we asked said yes.
And did you have an audition process or was it just straight to offer?
No, not for a couple of the smaller roles. Yes, I did see some reads and stuff like that. But Heather, also fun fact about in this whole process is that I think we brought Christy on. So we shot it in March of this past year, March 2023. And then I think we brought Christy on like maybe in late January or something like that. But you know, when like at the beginning of the year, it's I'm on manifestation TikTok and you know,
yes.
Stuff. I literally manifested Heather. And everyone's like tuning out now because they're like, this fucking bitch. But
no one is tuning out. We are all tuning in. Trust me. I think manifestation is fabulous. I need to do more of it, quite frankly.
I was just like, I just wrote it down. I was like, you know, that Heather's going to be in my film. And I did not know her, never met her. Didn't
really, no connection.
Nope. At the time, well, when I wrote it down and manifested it, I didn't think I had any connection, but then it turned out. So then when we got Christy involved, I don't know my casting director. I don't think she had any connection. Maybe maybe she had like known her manager or agent or something like that. And then it turns out that one of my producers on it, Alexis Giesel, who's also in the film, knew her wife. And so was able to text her. But yeah, it was like, it definitely was, and going into it, it's not something I knew that I had any connection to her whatsoever. And
I mean, did you grow up watching Welcome to the Dollhouse like as much as I did?
Was truly my first film where I was like, I remember in high school watching it. I went to a boarding school, which is like so crazy. And it was very straight laced and very conservative in a lot of ways. And I had my roommate / best friend, and who was like from New York and like cool. Well, New York via Michigan anyway. It's a long story. But basically, like, she, we were not even that. I was like a theater kid, like whatever, you know what I mean? I was like, I did theater. We weren't even like that cool or alt, but like we were like in comparison to everybody else. And we would watch Welcome to the Dollhouse, and we thought it was like the coolest, funniest shit ever. It is, mind you, it is so cool and such a special film. And we would just quote, it was like our secret language. We would quote it to each other all the time, and we just loved it so much. So it was a very, very seminal film for me growing up.
But also, like, it's just my favorite thing about indie projects is when iconic actors take just really even subtle roles, but like really obviously shape or make the whole thing. Do you know what I mean? And I think the script was so good. The story was great. I mean, I think everyone can identify, no matter, I don't know, who you've dated or how old you are, this idea of being, breaking up with someone who maybe wasn't even that good for you, but it's just the breakup alone is so intense and awful, and all of the embarrassment and the heartache and all of those layered emotions. And so to then have like the pizza delivery person be fucking Heather was great. And it could have been anyone. Like, it didn't have to be a star that we all grew up with, but it just makes it so fun when it is,
Yeah. No, exactly. I just, for Heather in that role, I don't know. I was like bouncing around with like a bunch of different ideas in my head of the kind of character I wanted that person to be. And and so basically like Trish, this delivery driver played by Heather, was actually in my head, like based on Trisha Paytas. It was like that sort of like great, like this Trish character might have a YouTube channel or whatever, you know what I mean? All of
Totally.
that kind of totally unhinged in a juicy sweatsuit, that kind of thing. And but I was like, what if it's that kind of character but played by some? It was just sort of like, it was very much like, I think Heather would play that really funny, play that really funny. And she did. She did some stuff
great.
She was so great. She was so great.
I love it. I mean, I think, we're at a point now, there's so much obviously conversation about content, both from major studios to indie to like what people are gravitating towards to creator-based content and like what that looks like. And I think with the rise of video on really all platforms versus photography and writing, which I have like so many layered feelings about it. I think there is a place for it all, but I like all types of content. But I think it's like people are consuming content in such different ways. And so it's all getting muddled in some form. I think it's more important than ever that we have like these beautiful, queer, independent stories seen, you know what I mean, out there and shown and seen. I always ask this, and maybe it's wrong, but short films are really, really hard. It's like really difficult, I think, to have a full story arc in 10 to 20 minutes, right? Mm-hmm. That's really difficult. Was it always a short, or was it a part of a longer idea?
It was always a short, but I have always because I knew I wanted to take this. I knew I wanted to make a short because in, in this industry. As we've said, I come from more of a, like, I had my web series and then I sort of was doing unscripted work, and I produced an unscripted show for Netflix and a documentary, so I've come from more of an unscripted world technically. And then that jump into scripted is hard. It is not like, it's not a lateral move by any stretch of the imagination, or maybe it is for some people. It's been hard to try and, it's not like I've been writing for years, and so you have to really, it's hard for anyone to get into a writer's room, any of that kind of stuff. So basically I knew that I've written a bunch of pilots, it's like I've gotten some notice or whatever, but I knew that I wanted to have a piece of work that was some of my writing come to life. I knew that I wanted to be able to show, okay, well, I've done this way, like, let's have this other kind of calling card. I have pilots as calling cards. I have other, I have a feature as a calling card, all of that kind of stuff. Let's try this, and I knew I wanted to direct it. And yeah, so basically this idea sort of came to me. I was like, oh, that would be, that would be really fun for something, and then when I was like, okay, I'm going to write a short, and I was in a writer's group and we were all working on shorts, and I was like, okay, this is it. This is it really came to me very fully formed. But while I was writing that, I would be like, oh, I'm going to put a pin in that for the feature. You know what I mean? I started to write it as a short, but it began to unfold a lot more, a lot more. And so I'm currently scripting it as a feature.
That's exciting. If you need a bougie Brentwood Country Mart lesbian, boop, boop, boop.
I literally do. I don't want to give too much away, but there is a whole other side. There's like a other side of not just your Echo Park lesbians always with the drama, not to quote the movie.
Oh, I loved that. Also, I loved him like talking about her attachment style, because like that's all we do is talk about in our house. And I was just like, Emmie, I love you. This is so funny. Well, I'm just saying, if you ever, bouge les, you know who to call.
Sure, David. Have you on speed dial.
What's your pizza order?
My pizza order. Oh my gosh, that's a really, really great question. So I haven't quite like found my favorite pizza in LA, not to be that girl from New York who's like, I like New York pizza's better. Obviously we know that it is, better in New York. But I guess I do really like, I love Triple Beam, Triple Beam Pizza in Highland Park. There's one in Echo Park.
Yeah, but what's your order from there?
There's this acorn pizza that's like sort of like sweet and salty. That's so good.
But Triple Beam, okay, I'm passionate about this. So please. Triple Beam is one of my faves.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's like, it's from the woman Nancy Silverton, who's a fucking gangster. She started Mozza. She's a G, La Brea Bakery. But that is like it's not like a pizza pie. That's like a thicker, it's like its own category. I love the mushroom.
It's like a focaccia.
It is like a focaccia. Yeah. I love the mushroom. Like that's my favorite. But for me, I think the best pizza, well, there's like different categories. Mm-hmm. I love Prime, but it gives me the worst tummy ache of all time. But that's like the closest thing to New York.
I agree. Actually, I agree. Prime is really, really good.
And then I like the place in Echo Park that's on the corner, and we order from there all the time.
Casabona.
The best. That would be the only, that's all I order from. And they come to Glendale, babe, because we're the Real Housewives of Glendale, you and me.
Really are. Wait, Casabona. Okay, truly, I've never, ever in my life understood or like fucked with Hawaiian style pizza.
We're going to start to. No, I would never.
Dude, it's so good. It like will change your life.
Okay. So you're walking down the street in New York, you go for a slice. Are you getting just cheese?
No, I'm getting pepperoni for sure.
Yeah, pepperones. Only pepperones for me. Pepperoni. Also, just so you know, in Glendale, there's Little Goat Pizza now, which is pretty good.
Oh, good.
It's like wood fire. It's great. Oh. It's right by me. So come over. I'll have pizza for you.
Oh, yeah.
Did you eat pizza on set? Like real pizza?
Sure did. However, I only ate the pizza that was like because I was hungry. Like on the last day, we had a bunch of because the pizza that's sort of in the box that is sort of at the center of this whole story was actually Papa John's. I
Whoa,
know.
for real? Why?
Yeah.
Because you like the box?
You know
No,
what?
it wasn't the Papa John's box. It
No,
was like a
my
regular box.
my art, my production designer, she hand painted those amazing Gino's Pizza boxes. Gino's Pizza is not. Gino's Pizza is based on. It's named after Gino's Pizza in Poughkeepsie, New York, where I'm from. But yeah, so she hand painted those Gino's Pizza boxes and then replaced in the box. She put the Papa
Papa
John's.
John's.
Honestly, I had no idea. I was like, the day of, I was just like, obviously, we just need. I think Papa John's is just easy and close by for us to go and pick it up.
Woof.
No,
Talk about
by the end of the day, I was eating that on set because I was hungry and exhausted. So
true. That's fair. Fair enough. Fair enough. So I feel like for me, knowing you quite a long time, over 10 years, can you believe that was like 10 years ago? It's fucking wild, dude. Anyway, you came out on the internet as queer a few years after we had known each other, or maybe actually kind of a solid few years.
Yeah, solid few years. Yeah, I only came out 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago.
Was it? Oh, shit. Then, okay, let me rephrase that. You came out a couple of years ago after knowing you for a long time.
Yeah.
It was funny. When I was at MySpace, I wasn't like out. I was out, but I wasn't out to my parents, which fuck them anyway. That's whatever. It's a whole nother can of worms. But I was dating men and women, mostly women at that time. And I remember feeling so kind of alone in the content space. You know what I mean? Like in the content space. And I remember, no one ever said anything negative necessarily to me, but when I was hosting stuff, it would always, like, the way they would dress me was like a little gayer than I would. Listen, if it was up to me, full drag is how I would operate. I would either operate in a Juicy Floor sweats. This is actually, I don't know why I'm saying how I would. This is how I live my life. I either wear straight up fucking workout clothes, which I'm wearing right now, or like a ball gown. Like there's no middle ground for me. But I remember they'd always like put me in vests and shit. I'd be like, what the fuck? And so things have really obviously evolved. I think being queer has become even more political than ever, which is amazing. How has being openly queer impacted the way you, make content? Obviously, you made a beautiful queer short film, but is it now, do you feel like it's in everything that you do? Are those the kind of stories that you want to make? I don't know. How do you feel about it?
I feel like for me, like it probably will be involved in the majority of things that I do going forward, just because it's what's true to me. And it's like, as a writer and director now, it's like you're always seeking the truth in a situation, or like that's what I would like to do, or making sure that everything comes from like a very real place, because I think for me that's how people can connect and all of that stuff. So I don't know. This happens to be a it's so funny. We were just found out we got into another festival in LA club.
Woo! Congrats! What festival?
Holly Shorts. It's an Oscar qualifying festival that will be at the Chinese Theater in August. So
I just went there for the first time to see Indiana Jones.
Oh, great! Did you like it?
Well, have you ever been to the Chinese Theater?
I've been once.
First of all, I made I don't know, and I'm the one that planned this, so I don't know. I take full responsibility, but I'm like, oh my God, I've never been. It's 4th of July weekend. I loved Indiana Jones growing up. I like the puzzles. I love Egypt. I'm like into all that shit. So I was like, oh my God, we gotta go. Made my friend Maureen go. Rachel came. I said, it'd be great if we saw it at the Chinese Man Theater, because we're East Side. She's West Hollywood. It's like in the middle. Okay, one very cool location to see that movie, because it's all like beautiful and ornate and old.
Yeah.
Woo! Hollywood and Highland, not for me. Not for me. The weird people with the snakes, the people on the street trying to like get you to pay $100 an hour to like drive a rented Ferrari. I feel like everyone's in a costume. Everyone's gonna like, I feel like I'm in like the middle of Europe in the summer where like somebody's gonna come with scissors and like cut off my purse and steal it away. I wasn't into it, but if I am able to attend, I would go to your festival because
It'll be great. It's at it's at 7:30 p.m. So a very respectable hour.
Ooh, very respectable.
But yeah, and so basically, so in that short, we were programmed as a romantic comedy, and that made me laugh so hard.
It is a romantic comedy, though.
It's sort of, I think that there's like, it's more like a romantic tragedy in some ways, or like a because it's
okay, fine. But I think if you're looking at it,
yeah,
it is dark comedy.
Yeah, there's elements of also, it's about relationships, the ending of relationships, all of that kind of stuff, and ultimately, sorry, it's about the relationship with yourself, honey.
Which I loved. Wait, hold on. I have to make you pause. I forgot in my notes. I have a very important question. Is Magoo's name really Magoo, and whose dog was that?
Oh my God, I'm so glad you asked. His name really is Magoo. And he is my dear friend Emma Ho's son, dog, boy.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I derailed my own interview, but I had to know. It was like the first note that I made was ask about Magoo. Whose dog is Magoo? There you go.
Yeah, see? This was his on-screen debut, and I think he crushed it. I mean, what a joy to have on set. An absolute joy to have on set.
Because you know who wouldn't have been a joy to have on set? Ravioli. Ravioli is not she is beautiful from a distance. Kit is not a star.
Yeah.
No.
Magoo is very, very chill. He was a trooper all day, and then we only needed him for one day, and then my friend Emma was with him all day on set. Shout out Emma, best animal wrangler ever. And then so he was a dream all day on set, and he's a very nervous dog. You know what I mean? He's pretty like he gets a little anxious, but I guess he holds it all in because literally on their way home he like projectile vomited everywhere after being like a star all day on set. And I was like, oh
my God, that's classic.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I derailed you. Holly Shorts, romantic comedy.
So basically, sort of like talking about like queerness in this stuff that I do. I guess like we were sort of, you put it really, really well before of like, this film is about the devastating breakup, like a devastating breakup with someone that maybe ultimately like wasn't actually right for you in the beginning, but maybe where you're at in your life, you're like putting a lot of, this relationship is everything, and that's how I felt about, that's how sometimes I still feel in certain relationships, or like, especially like the first queer relationships that I had, especially, I wrote this one after the first queer relationship that I had, and it was very much like that relationship in particular, this person was definitely not right for me, and it was a very different circumstances of a breakup, 100%. But it was just like, I felt really like, oh, I'm finally out. I'm finally finding love in ways that finding these sort of relationships in ways that make more sense to me. And yet this relationship is still, all of the problems that I had before this relationship are still waiting for me on the other side. It's like, and it didn't solve all my problems. And like, what the fuck? Like, I'm gay now, and I finally found, I'm finally dating the right people. Shouldn't my life be totally figured out?
Oh, Emmie.
I know. And that
welcome.
I know, right? And so I really wanted to sort of, write about that experience in a sort of way that hopefully people can connect with. And so I think everyone's on the journey with me in my queer journey. So, it's quite possible that other stuff that I will write will have similar themes. And
I love that. I love that. And I love that your short is in the romantic comedy category, because I think sometimes it gets tricky when things are like, if there's like an LGBTQ category, it's like a double-edged sword, right? You want the category because you want the representation and you want the content, but then like every queer piece of content is like up against itself, and you're like, well, fuck, like, do you know what I mean? Like, the more I think we just have the stories be the stories, then it just becomes more, organic fodder.
Totally, there is in that festival, there is a queer category.
Oh, there is.
Honey, I ain't in it. I'm in the romantic comedy.
Oh my gosh, she ain't in it. She's romantic comedy. She mainstream, baby.
Yeah.
Magoo took us all the way. I love it.
All because of Magoo.
It's all because of, no, it's not. It's because of you. You wrote and directed it. It's such a big deal. I loved it. I'm so happy for you. I'm so like, you're going to be so rich and famous. You're not going to remember me. You're going to leave Glendale. It's going to break my heart. I'm just going to be like, remember MySpace? Because that's all I do anyway. It's going to be, it's great. It's only the beginning for you, which is really exciting. If there's anything you need to know about me or about this show, is that the world is small and you will, no matter what, run into people again. That is why I try my best to be kind and honest. I'm not always kind and I'm not always honest, but I really try, because no matter if you knew someone or had a show on the same sort of network 10 plus years ago, you might live down the street from them in your little suburban town outside of Los Angeles many years later. Go watch Emmie's short film. It's adorable. Give it 5 stars, give it a bunch of great comments, and definitely follow her on Instagram.